Due to the realities of the world outside of YouTube, I haven't made it up to the hills for a hike in about 3 weeks, so today we're heading towards Blencathra, which is a mountain in the Lake District that some people call Saddleback, and which stands at 868 metres. But I actually picked today's route for its scrambling elements. Anyone who's watched this channel before should know I love a good scramble, so Blencathra is the summit, but it's not really my target for the day, which is a knife edge ridge that leads up to the summit. The route I picked was very quiet today, but I'm not sure if that's because of the popularity of the route itself, or because I arrived at the trailhead for 0650. Either way, the sun was already strong, and it was destined to be a very hot and sunny day. Setting off from the car park in Scales, which I should mention, is a very small car park, so parking might be an issue if you choose to follow along this route. I headed up towards the valley path towards Scales Tarn. The initial elevation gain was pretty aggressive, gaining 200 metres over the first kilometre. But after that, it levels out for about another kilometre, and it's an incredibly scenic hike. You can also get a great view of the straight edge ridge when you approach from this side once you get up towards the tarn, so you'll know what you're in for. Navigation is no real problem with the path being marked with gravel the whole way, and there were a number of water sources on this track for those of you who carry filters. Sharp Edge is a great scramble route too, especially for beginners. I found it much less challenging than Striding Edge, for example, which is one of the scrambles at Helvellyn, and the weather today was perfect for it, with the sun being out and winds being relatively low, at about 20 km per hour for the most part, only occasionally gusting more strongly. Sharp Edge is described as a knife edge ridge, and you will see this in the footage that is a fair description. It's very narrow at the top, but it's also relatively flat the whole way, and I felt I had a good footing the whole way. So it is a challenging route for those with a fear of heights and cliff edge drops, but not actually a technical scramble at all. With good visibility you can see the whole way across the ridge, and you can see how flat it is for the most part in this footage here. There is a small section at the end which is much steeper, but it's only a short climb. If you're not feeling the ridge, or if the weather turns bad, there are alternative tracks to the summit, but give it a go. It's not so bad at all, presuming the weather's okay. The couple of people that I saw climb this section immediately headed off towards the south for the Hallsfell top summit of Blencathra, but I took a small detour to pass the Atkinson Pike summit and the White Cross. The summit of Blencathra doesn't have the common stone pillar trig point seen on other summits. Instead, it has a stone ring placed into the ground. It was originally placed into the ground in 1953, but it was actually stolen a few years ago, although thankfully it's been replaced thanks to donations from the mountaineering community. There isn't much cover at the top of the summit, and it's wide open, so the walk from Atkinson Pike top towards the actual highest point of Blencathra is pretty exposed. But it was a pretty clear day today and the weather was good, so it wasn't really a problem. Once I'd passed the summit, I headed down via Blease Fell. Whilst I usually don't enjoy routes with a long tail descent after reaching the summit, with such good weather it wasn't a bad hike down at all. It was a little busier on this side of the mountain, but I still only passed a handful of people. The gravel tracks soon gave way to grass paths which followed alongside the stone wall the whole way back to the car park. It's not a completely flat track back though, there's a couple of scrambles down and then back up, to allow for stream crossings and to keep alongside the wall. And I think at the start of the hike these wouldn't have posed any challenge at all, but I was feeling pretty tired at this point. At certain points down here as well, the track wasn't so well maintained, or at least it was nowhere near as wide as it had been previously. It was still gravel underfoot for the most part, but there was a couple of points where it felt a little bit like you were wading through the undergrowth. Once you're back at the car park though, there is a pub if you want to stop for some food, or a pint if that's your preferred refreshment, but as usual, straight back to the car for me. We're just here for the summit, and it is home time.